Hello, everybody. On this webinar, I have here on Zoom with me 3 people who experience my work. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Achille. I've done about actually 8 group sessions with Dr. Olga, and I live up in Canada near Toronto.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dunbar. I live in Los Angeles, and I've also done about 8 group sessions with Dr. Olga.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lou. I live in Seattle, and actually I've also done 8 sessions with Olga.
Thank you. And thank you so much for being here with me today. And Achille, Dunbar, and Lou learned about me through Ben Greenfield's podcast, where I talked about my methodology. And this methodology that I created allows me to see patterns, how the nervous system reacts to everything around with flight, fight, and freeze responses. And these patterns affect both the mind and body, and also how people look, think, feel, react, communicate, and behave. After watching Ben Greenfield's podcast, Achille, Dunbar, and Lou decided to attend my group sessions for men. And the goal of this webinar is to bring your awareness to your patterns of thinking, feeling, behaving, and reacting. And Achille, Dunbar, and Lou are going to share their experiences and their results. And I prepared some questions for Achille, Dunbar, and Lou. And my first question is, were you aware before this work about your own patterns of thinking, feeling, behaving, and reacting? And if yes, did you bring your awareness to some of these patterns by listening to me and other participants from our group sessions? Achille?
That's a good question. And I think I thought I was aware of my patterns before I started to work with you. When I listened to you on the podcast, I was immediately drawn to your work. And as kind of like a self-proclaimed biohacker, I guess, I've been doing this for a long, long time. I kind of tried to do self-development, self-improvement, but nothing, I have to say right off the bat, that nothing's been as profoundly changing as your work. And we can get into that after. But I think after I started the sessions with you, I was able to realize what my patterns were, not only by your analysis of, what I'm sharing with you and what you're seeing through my drawings and diagrams, but also from the other people in the group. And that was the beauty of working or being in the group, is that you get to, through the other people's, when they share something, and you can relate to it, it's a little like light bulb comes on your mind, and you say, oh yeah, I do that too. And then you're explaining, or you're working with that person on, say that a subconscious program with them. And then at the same time, you're recognizing that you have the same pattern and that you're doing the same thing. And then I've got this book, as you probably know, and I write down that I need to work on that in the future. So yeah, like I guess to sum it up, I thought I knew my patterns, and I thought by doing some of the work that I've done, some of the other modalities, that I was dealing with them. but nothing's really kind of revealed those patterns to me than being a part of this group and having you kind of help me through that, and really the other participants as well. Like it's been such a pleasure to be a part of the group. And Dunbar's was in my group, and man, he puts the F in fun for sure. Like you really become like you really gel together, especially after the first session or two. But I'll leave that at that. Thanks, Dr. Olga.
Thank you. Dunbar?
For me, I definitely was aware of my patterns. And that's what drew me to you, is because I was aware of my patterns, but couldn't do anything about them. I tried to fix them, and it seemed like whatever method I tried, biohacking, like Achille was saying, meditating, praying, doing self-introspection, all of those things were temporarily helpful, but didn't result for me in any long-term changes. And this methodology that Dr. Olga uses has definitely resulted in many changes in my life over these 8 sessions that were not temporary. They've been long-lasting, and ones that I'm confident I will carry through the rest of my life. And it's really hard to believe as I think back on how I was at the beginning of the first 8 weeks and how I am now. The difference is between other changes that I've made in my life is that I notice them, but these changes have been much more subtle. They just were immediately like incorporated in my life, and I became a different person without trying. And that was so revolutionary for me, and I really appreciated that work.
Thank you so much, Dunbar. Lou, how about you?
So I'll try to explain this. You know, when you say patterns, I guess I'm going to use the word issues because I definitely did not recognize patterns, or I wasn't allowing that kind of information to be in my consciousness. So, but I knew I had issues. I've had I've seen therapists, over my life many times, and they've helped me understand what my issues, were, but I was, and they gave me some ideas and some different modalities and homework and to do, and none of it really made any difference. It never changed anything. And what these two guys just said, I mean, I can relate to all of it because, your work, really, there wasn't any work to do. There wasn't any homework to do. It just, you just create the magic, and then the subtle changes start happening, and you are not the same person the next day and the next week. So I'm sure we're going to talk more about this kind of thing, but that's been my experience.
Thank you so much, everybody. And my next question to all of you: what areas of your life were positively influenced by this work, and what kind of results did you experience after sessions? And I will start with Achille.
Wow. Every area of my life has been improved by this work. And on a side note, my girlfriend and I actually both are part of your sessions. She's part of the women's group and I'm part of the men's group. And even though we're doing the work on ourselves, our relationship has just, blossomed a millionfold as a result of it. And the results I see is not only like not only like a mental and emotional changes that I've felt, but physical as well. Like, it's so funny. Like, for instance, I had problems with digestion and elimination, and I wasn't even working on that issue. And after the first couple of sessions, I noticed that my digestion and elimination was so much better. And even in the last session, like, this is just before I get to the real kind of crux of the matter, but the last session, I was having this burning headache. And without even doing any work on it and just talking to you about it and becoming aware of where that headache came from, it just went away like that. So other results is like, it's just so proud. My girlfriend and I kind of joke because it's so profoundly subtle. And what I mean by that is that you work on something and immediately after the session, you kind of sit there and say, well, I kind of feel a little different. But then like 3 days later, you'll be like, oh my God, I don't do that anymore. And I don't do what I was working on anymore. Like, for instance, I worked on allergies the one time. And just after one session, I know it's a big program, as you mentioned, but because there's always, especially, it would always be kind of like, if it's dusty, I'd be blowing my nose or sneezing. And especially at nighttime when I try to go to sleep. And after one session, that night I would go to bed, and my girlfriend the next morning says, you weren't like snoring or sneezing anymore. And I'm like, you know what, you're right. I could like probably talk for an hour about all the things and all the changes that have happened in my life, as well as probably Lou and Dunbar could talk for an hour. But like, I just, it's so amazing, your work, and anything I work on, it's changed my life so tremendously. And I guess I'll sum it up like this. If I think of myself, if I think from 1 to 10, and I think if 5 is the baseline, like emotional balance, and normally through life before that, and I'm not like an overly emotional guy, but if normally before that, like the highs would be like a 10 and the lows would be like a 1 or a 9 or a 1. And, you go through this emotional range and you get frustrated and the guy cuts you off in traffic, you may get frustrated. Now I just feel like I'm just in that number 5, that balance more. And even if I go above or below a little bit, it's just a little bit. And then I even catch myself, like say something that would trigger me before. And if I find that same trigger, like my subconscious or my conscious mind says, you don't need to, I just don't react to it. And it's amazing. I don't know if I'm explaining that right. Like I said, I probably need an hour to explain it, but I'll leave it at that because I know probably Dunbar and Lou could add to it.
Your reaction of nervous system became different after the sessions, not reacting the same way because of transforming some unconscious programs that created this reaction.
Amen. That's exactly it, Dr. Olga, and 100%.
And also, Achille, can you tell maybe you mentioned allergies, some more specific? I remember you wrote to me, hey, maybe 1 or 2 things. What specific things you are working on that is now a big difference in your life?
One of the big things that I worked on, and this was early on that you kind of recognized and pointed out to me, is that I really took on other people's problems. And that was one thing that really stood out. Yeah, responsibility is I would carry this on my shoulder and like, I would like live the problem for them, take on their karma, so to speak, kind of thing. And after that one session and working on that, I no longer do that. Like I'm still the same. Like I kind of consider myself to be a compassionate, empathetic person. So I still want to help people, but again, it's in that balance. It's not me just doing the work for them. It's at that 5 where I'm just balanced. I recognize, you know, I can do this or I can show them that to help them, but I'm not going to do the work or take on that burden anymore. And that has profoundly changed my life, my outlook on the people I interact with. And it basically actually probably it benefits them as well, because everyone needs to learn their own lessons. And if you're the one taking on that burden for them, they're not really learning or kind of, you know, growing, right? So that's one thing. Like, you know, every session of those 8 sessions I've done with you, every one of those 8 sessions I could talk an hour about, and everything I worked on, you know. And those are just 2 examples: the allergies and taking on other people's responsibilities. But really, like, I have to say, like, and I've tried, even especially with the allergies, I've tried everything. I've tried, you know, NAET, I've tried homeopathics, I've tried herbalist, iridology, you know, you name it, I've tried it. And nothing has been able to help me as quickly and as profoundly as what you did that one session. And it's so simple. Like Lou was commenting before we started the webinar, it's just so simple. And again, I don't want to talk too much because I know Dunbar and Lou have probably a lot to say here. So
Thank you, Achille. I have an additional question for you, because I don't remember specifically. You used a very interesting metaphor today as carrying other people's burdens on your shoulders.
mhm.
And did you have either tension on your neck, shoulders in your life often? I don't remember if I asked you.
You did, and actually, I used to have a lot of neck problems and shoulder problems, and
Yes.
again, just working on that subconscious program, I no longer have those issues. And I thought, because
no more the tension, the same in neck and shoulders after working on that unconscious program, right?
no, and I played football for years. I played university football and high school football. And I thought maybe it's just because of that. But like, again, that's one of the things I was talking about before. You work on a subconscious program, and it's a mental or emotional one, and then you have this physical change, and it's just so it's a beautiful thing. Like I you know, and even if I'm not working on that thing, like I mentioned before about my digestion and elimination, but also I had this pain in my bicep. I don't even think I told you this. For the last 3-4 years, it's been, I can't work out properly. It's been really bothering me. And after that last session, whatever we did on, I think I worked on clarity. Now it's like 80% better. I've never, and actually the next session I do with you, I'd like to work on that, because
Wow, you did not mention to me.
I didn't, and you know, but it's been, and I, you know, that's why you're my favorite person. You know.
Thank you so much. I'm touched. Thank you. And
Thank you.
thank you so much for sharing. And I would like to mention, it's what most of my clients noticed. Not only what Akila said, certain mental and emotional issues are gone. Also, physical sensations associated with those issues. Thank you. And Dunbar.
Yes. So for me, I'll jump right into the specifics on what I experienced. And I'll break it down by the first set of 4 sessions that we did and the second set of 4 sessions. So during the first set of 4 sessions, I worked on achieving things over a shorter duration of time. So I had goals, I want to achieve them, and I just thought it was taking me too long to accomplish goals. And I definitely now am accomplishing things with much more ease, much less effort, much less stress. Also, at the same time as I started with Dr. Olga, I had been working on, with a neurologist, my brain function. And I was experiencing some lightheadedness, some dizziness, some balance issues from time to time. And I was doing all these exercises and I was making a little bit of progress. But once I specifically addressed that issue through Dr. Olga's work, I made an amazing jump in my improvement. And I was pretty much resolved of my issue. And that really hit home because it was that physical manifestation that was very noticeable. Another thing is at the same time I was working on gaining weight. And for me, being a skinny guy was just my life. That was who I was. And I just never was able to gain weight no matter what I did. And I specifically addressed that with Dr. Olga. And then all of a sudden, I just started putting on pound after pound after pound. And so I am now about 25 pounds heavier than when I started working with Dr. Olga. And it's healthy weight. And it's something that has been a desire of mine for most of my life. And I'm really excited about those results. And so those were the highlights of the first set of sessions. And the second set of sessions, I really was focusing on trying to figure out how to be more financially abundant. And that was really interesting because while I started working on financial abundance, it evolved into working on issues that I have around time and senses that, well, there's too much to do, so why bother doing it? I'll have a plan to do something and get started, but it's too much. So I'll just abandon ship. And another thing I worked on was just that when I was doing something, it just seemed like it was too much of a chore. And the amazing thing is I've become so much more productive and effective, and I'm not trying any harder. Just since I started working on that over the past few weeks, I've been able to accomplish things that I've been wanting to do for months, if not years. And I think the dread that was associated with accomplishing those tasks has now been transformed into more of an excitement. Like, hey, we're going to take an adventure and we're going to get this done and you can do it and it'll be great. So it's just transformed the way that I view things, my mental approach on things. And one of the things Achille mentioned, which I hadn't even talked about because I didn't think about it before now, when he was talking about his range of, just being steady. For me, it was almost the opposite in that I had been like more of a flatline emotional person, like just kind of like, okay, I'm steady Eddie, I'm balanced, which is dependable, but it's not really experiencing the full range of emotions of life, like being able to just cry easily or be upset and express it in a healthy manner, and being excited, really excited, and physically demonstrating that excitement, uh, and not just going to those places and staying there, but being able to go there and transition and come back into balance. And that's something that I never really was able to achieve. And I just thought, well, that's who I am. That's just the way I am. But I've definitely noticed much more emotional resiliency when it comes to experiencing things, feeling them in the moment, and then moving on to the next thing. So I'm glad Achille mentioned it. And that speaks to one of the coolest things about this experience, which was drawing on everybody else's experience in the group and thinking, oh, well, how does that apply to my life? And getting enlightenment based on that. And that's something that's been truly invaluable for me. And these guys who I've worked with are amazing guys. And I'm really thankful that I've had the chance to get to know them better and see each other grow.
Thank you so much, Dunbar. And I would like to clarify what you are talking about. You did not try consciously, willpower, force yourself, do more. It happened naturally, right? After
Right.
transforming certain unconscious programs.
Yes, and willpower is how I tried to do everything up until this point. And it just was frustrating. And it took a lot of energy,
Yes.
a lot of time, and I accomplished little.
And
But
a lot of effort.
yes, a lot of effort. Since I've gone through your program, I've been able to notice immediate results in doing things and doing them with ease and enjoying them and moving on to the next thing. And so it's been fantastic.
Thank you, Dunbar. And I would like to briefly talk about what Dunbar just said about kind of a flat emotions. First of all, Dunbar, I would like to tell you your voice shifted a lot since the first session. It's more melody in your voice,
Yes,
more emotion in your voice. Did you
definitely.
notice it?
Definitely. Yes. And you actually had us video ourselves.
Yes.
And I saw the video of when before I started, and I was thinking, whoa, that's pretty flat. That's pretty emotionless. And Achille was talking about me putting the F in fun, and it's kind of like I maybe I was like that at some point and got away from that. I don't know, and it just feels good to. I feel like I'm myself. This is who I'm supposed to be, and I'm not trying, like you said.
Would you say more authentic self in any possible way
Absolutely,
without
absolutely,
trying to be?
without trying. Yes.
Yes, thank you. And also would like to tell what Dunbar explained. It's that can happen as a result of unresolved trauma, any kind, genealogical, womb, early childhood, when unconscious mind tries to protect and from feeling physically, emotionally. And for some people, they cannot really feel much, especially emotionally. And in this case, it will be in everything, like how face looks, how posture, how people walk, their voice. And by transforming certain unconscious programs that created, it can be a huge shift in all of those areas.
And that's the one thing I forgot to mention,
Yes.
my posture. So I'm glad that you said that. And so many times, Dr. Olga, you'll say something and it'll be exactly what I was thinking. It's really amazing how in tune you are with us. And yes, that's one of the things I've struggled with is my posture has been more slumped over. And I thought I attributed part of it to the fact I was taller and trying to fit in, but I just felt more confident and comfortable in who I authentically am as a man. And my posture has dramatically improved since we started.
I'm so glad to hear that because people who have bad postures, some of my clients who had bad postures, they explained to me they tried everything, exercises, stretches, but it works for a short period of time. And after, body goes to that protective mode again, kind of being in a shell, protecting yourself till it's resolved what caused it. That's why you're not trying, Dunbar. You are
Right.
just the way you are, open and a beautiful posture, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Lou.
Okay, well, I'll try to add something meaningful here because that was a lot of really good information. And I know this is really, for the benefit of new people who are interested in trying this out. And I just want to mention that, you know, when I listened to you on the Ben Greenfield podcast, and I remember at the end of that podcast, Ben was a little perplexed. You know, he really didn't really know what to say. He just brought it to his listener base, and it's kind of like, okay, here you go, take it or leave it, whatever, make whatever you want out of this. But I was immediately captivated, and I tried to get a hold of you, I think the next day or two, because there was something about it that sparked something in me. And I would just say that, you know, this is not like anything else you've ever done. This is a leap of faith. You have to just, you know, be able and willing to take a leap of faith and trust that, you know, this is going to work, because, you know, you're listening to three guys here who got a lot out of this, of the time with you. And everybody in both of my sessions would say the same thing. I'm very sure of that. But what, you know, the reason that I realized that I wanted to do this was I'm 67, and I can say nearly all my life, my entire life, I never felt like I was living my authentic life. I always felt, you know, sort of estranged from who I was. I didn't feel comfortable with who I was. I got very good at covering that up. You know, I say that to people, my friends and family or whatever, and they go, "What are you talking about?" They have no clue. I just got very, very good at faking it. But inside, you know, I knew that there was something wrong. I needed to get out of the prison that I was in. And I was there really, you know, for my entire life. And I've had a high functioning life, you know. So you can still do a lot, you know, and be sort of in prison. So I think after the very first session, and I think you boiled my issue down to it was a form of identity. I forget exactly now what you boiled it down to, but we worked on that, and I felt great right after the session. But over the next few days, I started noticing that everything was easier. Everything was just easier, and I wasn't in my head that much anymore. I was like, you know, my wife and I would take walks every night after dinner. We're not going to do it tonight because it's too late and it's too cold. But we would, you know, just pass people, you know, neighbors, strangers, you know, that are out there for a walk as well. And I just found myself kind of like a golden retriever, just talking to people, noticing things about them, making comments. I noticed, like, you know, when I was in stores, I would, you know, just be joking around with the clerks or even other, you know, shoppers. You know, I say, hey, that's a cool thing. You know, I just, not in an obnoxious way, just in like, this is a natural golden retriever, I'm happy to be around you way. And so that it was kind of like the huge wall that fell down for me, and it just basically, you know, moved into every aspect of my life. I'm singing all the time, to my wife's chagrin. I'm just like it's a much easier for me to have just kind of difficult conversations, but they don't they're not difficult. Maybe they need to be conversations that you need to have, but it's, I'm having them with people in a way that is non-threatening. It's just genuine, easy. People kind of relate to it. So it's like all these things. I know some of the comments that these guys made were, you notice some physical things, you notice some, you're sleeping better, or when these walls fall down, or when these these unconscious attachments get cut, it just affects every part of your body, and in parts that you didn't know you needed to fix. You just notice that everything's working better. So that's what I would say to a new person is take a leap of faith. Because if any of this resonates within you, try and get into one of the groups. That's what I would say.
Thank you, Lou. And would you say that you became more authentic too?
That's the point of this. That's the big point. I became myself. I became my authentic self for the first time in my life, really. And it just feels easy and really quite wonderful.
And also, would you say what you just told everyone, what you experienced as a result of this work, that now it's much easier to connect on a deeper level with people? Don't try.
It's easy. It's immediate. I don't have. I never really. There's never any of those interactions where it's not genuine, because that's the only kind of interaction I can have now. That's the bottom line. So and they're almost immediate. And if somebody can't be genuine back to me, and most people really do reflect genuine back to you. If that's what you're putting out, that's what they're gonna give you too. I just kind of noticed that with most people. They just need somebody to make it okay for them to be genuine too.
Very interesting. And Lou, I would like to tell you, you definitely look at least 15 years younger since first time I saw you on the screen. It's truly remarkable.
Yeah.
You do look so much younger.
Spasiba.
Did you notice it too?
Oh yeah, I'm really noticing it now. So yeah, I definitely am noticing it when I'm looking in the mirror. It's a different guy that I'm seeing, in that way too, physically as well. So 100%.
It's amazing how these unconscious programs that are influencing the nervous system, they kind of can create more faster aging for some people. And by transforming, you can slow aging and even reverse aging processes. Many of my clients show it, even their blood work, how they looked, how cognitive ability, memory,
Yeah.
and also even feeling.
Yeah.
Dr. Olga, I wanted to jump in to comment on something that Lou said.
Yes.
And it just is another way to illustrate how it seems like everybody is connected.
Yes.
In my second set of sessions, the thing that I forgot to mention earlier that I worked on specifically
Yes.
was to resolve an energy drain caused by being around other people and in the environment. And since then, I've experienced, just like what Lou is saying, just this more connectedness to people than I've experienced that I can remember. And just looking forward to our interaction and believing that they're going to be positive. So I really am glad that Lou highlighted that, because I've experienced that as well.
Thank you so much. And I would like to let you know, I had some clients who were true introverts, and among them, they were over empathetic people. It's some unconscious programs created it by resolving. They don't feel the same, being tired around people, and they need time for themselves, only not as much anymore. Isn't
That's
it
exactly how I
interesting?
feel. Yes.
Yes, and I'm not surprised at all to hear that. And also, Lou, you mentioned to me about your significant memory improvement. You wrote to me.
Yeah.
And also your voice shifted like a lot. Would you please let everybody know about that?
Yeah, the voice thing, that was a little freaky because you know, I always have this kind of this strained voice. And you know, like, you know, at the end of your day, you've had a long day or whatever, you had too much coffee or whatever, you know, and you kind of get this strained voice like this. But all of a sudden, after a few days, I don't remember exactly, after the first session, that's one of the things that I really noticed was my voice just dropped. Not in a weird way, but like, you know, an octave or two or three. I'm not sure. I'm not that musical, so I don't know. I don't know how big of an octave it is, but a lot. So so yeah, but you know, and it's like you know, if you've got you know, a chain around your neck, you know, an unconscious, you know, emotional like chain around your neck that's just, you know, tight around your neck all the time, and then you come along and you help, you know, take the chain off, basically take the chain off. All of a sudden you can breathe again, and all of a sudden, of course, your voice is gonna be what it's supposed to be, you know, not what it has been with all these, you know, unconscious you know, ropes, you know, wrapped around your neck. That's kind of what happens, and that's why I think it can happen so quickly. You know, you take the damn rope off, you know, you're going to feel free. You know, that's the bottom line. It doesn't take a long time. You know, you don't have to have, you know, 10 years of therapy. It's just not necessary. I think you've discovered really the shortcut to, you know, helping people, you know, live their real lives.
Thank you. So you wrote to me, your memory improved too, right?
Yeah, the memory is been improving. You know, I'm like a serious, you know, biohacker. You know, I mean, I listen to Ben Greenfield, and I listen to, you know, Dave Asprey, and and a number of others. Kind of a junkie. I kind of come and go, but I'm kind of a junkie with it. So I've been on this path of finding things that can really help me, and you know, this definitely, you know, my memory. That's another thing that just got easier. You know, I didn't have to fight it. I could, if I was, you know, telling a story or explaining something, you know, the words would just come, and way better than before. So, and I'm hoping to really continue to improve that as well. More there for me to get.
Thank you, Lou. And I would like to uh, tell everyone that unconscious programs affect the nervous system. And neuroscience has shown that unconscious programs shape 95% of our life experience. And unconscious programs create often because of unresolved traumas, genealogical womb, early childhood, neuromuscular lock, mentally and physically. That's why there are such dramatic results. For example, what Lou shared with his voice, some unconscious programs create neuromuscular locks in throat, in muscles that take part in breathing and voice production, jaw, somewhere in face. And by transforming these unconscious programs, it's a pretty much permanent results. No more neuromuscular locks, and in this case, without trying or doing exercises, your voice can be dramatically improved. And I had clients, even their friends, family members did not recognize their voice. It was such a dramatic improvement without trying to do anything. And the same way for more kind of cognitive speed of cognitive processing, memory, those unconscious programs, like again, can create more, can create stress response in body. And in this case, now science showed that longer stress response will change how your neurons are working. Also can change your brain structure and brain function, and also brain even size, all of that. And by transforming unconscious programs, it's like neuroplasticity, you can restore all of what I mentioned. And some of my clients even did scans of brain before and after this work, and they could measure the change. Thank you so much, everyone. And my next question is, how fast did you experience results after sessions? Achille?
I think I mentioned before, sometimes they're immediate and sometimes there's a little bit of an integration period, say a week or so, or you just kind of wake up one day and you're like, I don't need to do what I was working on anymore, whether it's the responsibility thing that I spoke about before. A situation, happens, presents itself to me, and then I'm like, oh, I don't react that same way. I'm not, the energy or the heaviness of the situation. Like my parents are elderly, my mom is ill. So the heaviness of the situation doesn't stick to you anymore. Like it just kind of like, you deal with it if you have to deal with something. But it's immediate and long lasting. Like after these 8 sessions, it's one every 2 weeks. They just build on each other. It just gets better and better. Like everyone's mentioning their authentic self. It just shows more and more. Like I said, my girlfriend is doing the women's sessions, and it just, having us both do it has been a blessing, because we don't no longer, if there's a difficult discussion that we have to talk about, or is it something that used to trigger us before, it doesn't happen anymore. And it just gets, like I said, it just builds on itself. So I'd say the results, I notice sometimes right away, sometimes it takes a week or two, but they're permanent as far as I can see. And like I said, and each session kind of builds on the other session, and yeah, it's an amazing experience.
Thank you so much. And Dunbar, how fast did you experience the result after our sessions, and if they are long-lasting and or permanent?
I definitely experienced very fast results. It was noticeable immediately for me in most cases. A couple of times, maybe a day or two later, it really kicked in to where it was like second nature, or wasn't even really thinking about it anymore. It was just there. And then like the last 2 sessions that we went through, where one of the issues that I worked on was this overwhelmed sense. You had mentioned that this issue could be multi-layered. And so I definitely noticed improvement after that session over the next couple of weeks. The last session, where it was like all of the rest was accomplished, and then it was like a rocket ship, like everything just took off and it was all resolved and it all fell into place immediately. So that is one of the things I want to make sure that people understand is some of these issues, they might take time. Some of them are pretty complicated and deep issues, but I would just say have hope. You keep at it. There's not like you have to do any homework or work. You just keep coming to see Dr. Olga, and I believe she will be able to resolve the root, and your life will be changed permanently.
Thank you so much, Dunbar. Lou?
So Dunbar mentioned something about, willpower, and using willpower. And I think, Olga, I think you said, 95% of our behavior is driven from our unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
So that leaves 5% for our conscious minds. So, and willpower is from your conscious mind. So, good luck competing with 95% on unconscious driving your behavior. That's why willpower doesn't work. You have no chance against your unconscious. And that's why I think another reason that this is so, powerful as a way to, help people, get to their, authentic selves or get over whatever issues that they're dealing with. Anyway, on to your question. I noticed it, I felt really good. You feel really good after each session, but that's really not the permanent changes that you experience. I started noticing them in the next day or two, and they just kept building on. They kept building over the next week or two. And I remember when you asked on the second session, you asked everybody, what did you notice? And you kind of had to shut me up because I noticed a lot, and I was very excited about it because I realized this was really going to work for me. It's really worked for me, and but I'm quite sure it's permanent too. I mean, I'm having a hard time remembering what it was like before, so I'm pretty sure it's permanent. I have no doubt that it is. But so anyway, that's been my experience.
Thank you, Lou. And some of my clients experienced immediate result, and for some it took 1 or 2 weeks to integrate, and then they experience the result. And when that unconscious program or programs are gone, your nervous system won't respond the old way to the same triggers, no matter what they are, visual, what you hear, what you smell, or similar situations or people. And in this case, when something is gone, people forget that they had that issue, that they had certain behavior reaction. It's not there. There is no like a reference to that. Nothing to compare to, right?
Right.
That's why it's easy to forget that you had that issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Thank you so much. And my next question for you is, do you consider these methodologies that I created to be one of the modalities for biohacking? Achille?
I think it is the ultimate biohacker's tool. And I'll tell you why. And I think Dunbar and Lou are both like myself and are biohackers, whatever. It's because all the other modalities I've tried, and I've tried a lot, probably the same as Lou and Dunbar, and probably a lot of people listening to this podcast. You know, I've done EFT, Qigong, martial arts, you name it, like pendants and energy work and hypnosis and, you know, supplements and, you know, programs. And they all work to a certain extent, some better than others. But none get to the root cause of the issue. And like Lou mentioned, you know, 95% of what we got going on in life is from these unconscious programs. And it affects everything. It affects your physical, mental, emotional health, right? So by dealing with the root of the problem, and this is the whole thing that I love about it, is because I always love, you know, to deal with the root cause of an issue. You know, I won't get into the tangent about pharmaceuticals and, you know, alternative health and stuff. But, you know, when you deal with the root cause of a problem, you really get rid of the problem. And I've seen nothing in my 30 years plus of being a biohacker that's so quick and so effective and gets to that root cause of the problem and eliminates it. And it's so easy. It's not like you have to try hard. It's actually, you know what, I look forward to every group session. It's going to sound corny, but I really look forward to interacting with yourself and, you know, your knowledge and your energy. And your energy is top notch. Like I don't know how you do it. It's like some of these sessions are very long. They don't seem like it. They go by just like that, but you're always so present and you're always so engaged and caring and compassionate with everybody, no matter who it is. And, you know, and same with working with the other guys, like, and so I've never seen anything, just to go back on point, I've never seen anything so, you know, so quick to change me and bring out that authentic self that we're talking about. And like I said, I just want people to know, I'm not getting paid for this. I don't know Dr. Olga. I've only met her like, you know, a couple months ago. I've only been doing this work for 8 sessions. But when she asked me to do this podcast, I jumped at the chance. And I wish, you know, I was Spock and I could do the Vulcan mind meld and kind of, you know, show people and have people feel and just say, like Lou was saying, if you're drawn to this work and you have any doubt, I would jump at it because you'll never experience it. At least I'm sure, like I said, all these other things I spoke about, meditation, they're great. And I still do them. And this practice just makes those other practices that much better. But you'll never get something from my experience that is so quick and so drastic and profound and gets to that root issue. So is this a biohacking tool? It's the ultimate biohacker's tool, if you ask me.
Thank you so much, Achille. Dunbar?
He's on mute.
Dunbar, you're on mute.
Sorry, I was saying ditto. I totally agree with what Achille was saying. And I can't really explain it any better than him because he touched on all the points. It's just pretty instantaneous transformation without any effort. And I think that biohacking is all about trying to do things as quickly and efficiently as possible. And this is really getting to the root, like he was saying, quicker and more efficiently than I think any other method that exists. So absolutely. I mean, it's a short answer, but I totally believe that this is truly the best way that you can biohack into yourself and to resolve whatever issues you have work on whatever you'd like to work on to become the person who you want to be.
Thank you so much, Dunbar. Lou?
Yes, well, ditto and ditto and ditto for me too. And I'll just add that I think all of us, seekers, we're seekers, and we look for biohacks because we want to be more. We want more out of our lives. We want to be stronger, healthier, smarter, live longer, and all the things that you guys mentioned, the different types of therapies and ideas and vitamins and this and that, it's all just sniffing around the tree. This is the tree. If when you get in there and you fix a lot of these things that are the biggest part of your lives, that's the ultimate biohack. So I don't need to say any more than that. It's all been said.
Thank you so much, Lou. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. And it's what nervous system influences pretty much everything in our body, and also other systems. And that's why when you go to the root cause, what created any kind of issues, including health issues, pretty much it won't be there. And my next question is, how can you describe your experience during sessions? How can you describe in your own words? Achille?
Like, you mean the actual
Yes, like your
technique?
not a technique, like your experience there. For example, already all of you mentioned that it's no effort to do it, what we do, right? Time flies very fast and easy, right?
I would describe my experience. It's always like something I look forward to. Even though it's, I think it's a 3-hour session. Sometimes they run a little bit longer, but it doesn't seem like that. It seems like, it goes by in the blink of an eye, because at least for me, I can speak for myself, I find it so interesting. And even, when the other people are sharing what they want to work on, and like I think you mentioned before, it's revealing things. And so that's why I feel like I'm so engaged, because I'm learning so much about myself by listening to the other members of the group, and the things you point out and stuff like that. And it's effortless. Like the actual technique, the actual, the process of the whole thing, it's effortless. It's not like, you have any homework. It's not like you have to work hard. It's actually very calming and relaxing to do it. Like it's about the only thing that happens after is you feel good, like Lou said, like me after the session, and I think I mentioned before, just on a side note, there's things that I'm not even trying to work on in the session. And just by bringing awareness, by listening to other people, or you pointing things out to me or to other people, it kind of just makes some of the issues go away. Like I think I mentioned I had a headache in one of the last sessions. I had like a really long week, really very stressful week, and I had this burning headache, and just by being aware of why I had that headache and where it came from my childhood, instantly it was gone. And then we went on to work on something else that I think was clarity or something in that session. And like I said, it's effortless. Like I said, I look forward to it. I wish I could have a session every day or every week, but there's only one Dr. Olga, so I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Achille. And it is true. Bringing awareness, it's a first step for healing and resolving certain things. And during our work, it's just first step, it's bringing awareness. And we are doing much more to transform that unconscious program, right? Yes, thank you, Achille.
Yes.
Dunbar?
I'd never had to think about this. And so it's actually a deep question for me to retrospectively examine what my experience was in each of those sessions. And for me, just thinking through the sessions as they progressed was very thought-provoking, very enlightening, and very much got me in touch with myself, increased my intuition in just basically understanding myself better and what I was experiencing in the moment and how I'm feeling about something and how to express myself. And being able to do all of that in community was very supportive. So those were the main things that I would say as far as my experiences were.
Thank you so much, Dunbar. Lou?
Yes. In the before the first session, I was a little nervous because I didn't know what to expect. And that pretty much went away very quickly after I think there were 5 of us in that group, plus you. And, nobody knew what to expect. I mean, we were all in the same boat. So you immediately kind of, relax about that. And then I didn't know really what to work on. And you were actually very helpful to help boil it down, to identify an issue. And you had good questions. So you made it very easy to zero in on, the right issue to work on at that session. So I over the eight sessions, I came to just, be very comfortable knowing that, you know what you're doing and you know how to help people get to a place and to get to the right issue, to work on at that time. There's many issues that you can work on, but, you find one that's important for each person at that moment. You help them kind of get to that, point. And then, I just learned that you have to go through the process. You have a process and you follow the process and you make sure that nobody, gets lost or you don't leave anybody behind. And I also came to know that even if I didn't feel everything perfectly every time, I knew that my unconscious was getting some messages and I was going to get some good stuff, so I learned to relax a little bit about, trying to do everything perfectly, because I just knew that at the end of the session, I'm going to get the goods. There's no doubt about it. And I did every time. So that was basically my experience, in every session.
Thank you, because your unconscious mind is doing work for you. It cannot be done right or wrong, right?
Yeah.
And it's so easy because it's not you doing this work.
Yeah, that was the best part of it. Really, you didn't have to do anything.
Yes. And also, even Lou, I believe you, maybe Dunbar mentioned at first, you were skeptical if it is going
I
to
definitely
work or
was.
not, right?
I was very skeptical. I was just thinking, well, I'll give this a shot. It probably won't hurt. And I'm glad that Lou had talked about, not being sure or being nervous, because that reminded me that I was skeptical and you just asked the question. And that reminded me, and I wanted to bring this up, of we had someone in our session who was extremely skeptical and extremely resistant and thought that he had no issues. And Dr. Olga was beyond patient and just showed her true skill at drawing out what was really getting to the root of this issue of feeling like having no issues, because everybody has some issue. I don't believe that Dr. Olga is claiming that she's going to cure us all of our issues for the rest of our lives, because that wouldn't be realistic. But we do, through this work, have the opportunity to resolve so many issues as we go, as we continue to work with her, and to just enjoy life more and just have a more full experience. And just wanted to emphasize that she is an expert at really working with you to get to the root of what's really going on with you. And she will work through whatever resistance you have to offer.
Thank you so much. And Lou attended one group and Achille and Dunbar another group. And is it true to say everybody got good results in both groups?
I think it everybody got good results. I mean, most people continued on, so that tells you that they got good results. But one thing I want to add, and that is, if you're feeling a little weird or nervous about going through this process, having these sessions with a bunch of strangers, you'll feel that way for about 10 minutes. And then it's gone, because everybody in these sessions is really desiring to grow, to help themselves or to grow in some way. And it's just there's just a little magic that happens there where it just doesn't matter. You've got these colleagues basically, and on this path, on this growth path. So, I just wanted to mention that if anybody out there is thinking about this and worried about that issue.
Thank you.
And I just want to jump in for 1 second.
Yes.
In regards to everyone getting some benefit, or we were just talking about, is that's the beauty of doing the group work, is because not only do you see the changes in yourself, but you see the changes in other people, and some of them are really drastic and immediate. There's one gentleman in our group that's working on his voice, and after one session, it was like drastically improved. And you can't, because sometimes you sit there. I know for me, maybe in Dunbar and Lou, I was like, am I really changing? Is this really happening? And you see changes in my girlfriend and the other people. But when you see someone's voice change like that, it's and actually, I guess Lou spoke about that because it happened to you, right, Lou?
And I wasn't trying for that.
Mm-hmm.
That was just, you take the chains off, a bunch of things start happening. You don't know, you're digging it, because it's all good stuff. It's none of this is bad stuff. And I was definitely skeptical. I mean, everybody's going to be a little skeptical. Come on, this is a strange thing. But I think anybody listening to this webinar will be far less skeptical than the three of us were when we started.
And also I would like to mention, I did hear so many times after people listen what this methodology is about, they told it's too good to be true.
Yeah.
So many times.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, Dunbar, I remember you you mentioned to me, you thought only you will get help with one issue only over
That's
4
right.
sessions, right?
That's right. That's right. Just maybe one thing would break through. And there were just so many. I listed off multiple things from one session at times. And I just, the results were way beyond, above and beyond my expectations.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
life changing sounds a little hyperbolic, but you know, I mean, and I mean, it probably people listening thinking, oh, come on. It's because you've never done anything like this. I mean, I'm 67. I've tried so many things over my life. My wife, you know, just kind of jokes about, you know, I try this, I try that, I try this, I try that. You know, I try lots of things because if you don't try lots of things, how are you going to find the ones that work, right? You have to, that's a good thing to try. Like I'm in business and if you don't try new products and new marketing ideas or new people or this or that, you don't go anywhere. You have to try some new things. So this is just another new thing. We just happen to hit a home run here. That's, you know, most things don't give us results like this, but this one does. I mean, for everybody in the groups, it seems like, you know, everybody was hitting home runs. So
Thank you so much.
okay.
And I remember in so far, like we had 4 groups, and Lou, you continued, you participated in the second group, and the same Dunbar and Achille, first group, and pretty much everybody wanted to continue in your group. We did not have one person, who did not get any results, right? Pretty much everybody in Lou's 2 groups and your group did get like really, really good results.
Yeah.
Yes. And one of the things that I forgot to mention, because it wasn't about me, but it was about somebody in our group, that he had just a terrible family experience. And he really had completely forgotten about it. And during one of the sessions,
Yes.
it came out, and it was such a life-changing experience for him. And he was able to reconnect with family and discuss and heal. And so it wasn't anything that he had planned. It wasn't even on his list of things. And it just came out because of this work, just drawing out these things that are so deep that we might have just repressed because they would just consciously, like Lou's been talking about, consciously versus unconsciously, consciously be so painful to deal with that we wouldn't even want to try.
Yes, thank
And
you.
I think Dunbar for one sec, like I think that's what grows that appreciation you have for each other, and what kind of really
Yes.
bonds everyone together is because everyone's working through their stuff and everyone's supporting each other. And I remember that session, Dunbar, and man, I learned so much about myself as well. And when you hold that space for somebody, even if it's over Zoom, it sounds kind of strange, but you can still do that over Zoom. It's very, very powerful. And I'm sure you agree. I'm sure Lou would agree as well. But
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And the last question, very brief. Do you think overall what we did improved your quality of life? Lou is laughing.
I mean, it's almost a silly question. I mean, of course, you know, it's go ahead, Achille.
I think Lou just answered it. It's immensely improved the quality of my life. Like, and it couldn't happen for me at a better time, because, you know, I'm going through some very stressful times in my life in regards to some things I shared with the group. We don't have time to get into it today, but and just the way I've handled that situation and all these other pressures, and it's immensely improved my quality of life. And if you ask me, like if I had to describe this methodology, and people were like, well, what is it exactly? And I can only describe it as like it's the operating system of your computer. That's your subconscious mind. And if it's working great, that's fantastic. You have a fast computer, it does what you want. But if you've got like viruses and malware in that computer, that's what these programs are. And you're trying to do something on your computer and you get this pop-up or whatever, or this virus, or it's really slow, or if it freezes, if you remove that virus or the malware, you get the computer you want and it'll do what you want it to do. And that's the way, I don't know, Dr. Olga, if that's a good way to describe it, but that's the kind of way in my mind, if I had to describe it and tell somebody about it, that's the way I think this methodology is. And that's why it gets to the root of the issue, is because it gets rid of that old program. It gets rid of the malware, the viruses that just hold you back from doing the things you want to do in life.
It's a great metaphor.
Yes, great metaphor. Thank you, Achille. Yes. And is there anything you would like to add before we will finish our webinar? No?
Oh, we've kind of said it all.
Yes, we talked about so many things today. And thank you so much for being here with me. I truly appreciate
You're welcome.
all of it.
Thank you, Dr.
You're
Olga, for all your
welcome. Thank
work.
you.
It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor, I think, for all of us to work with you. And thank you for everything.
You are welcome. Thank you so much. And have a very nice evening. I believe it's evening for everybody, right?
That's right.
Yes.
And bye, everyone.
Have a
Bye-bye.
good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.